how do you want to feel? And I was just like, that question was just like the weirdest question someone could ask me. I was like, what are you even talking about? I'm, the youngest of three kids, only girl, give me all the blue ribbons and the gold trophies. And then I actually paused and let the question land. And what came to me weren't really like how I wanted to feel, but it was a vision. And it was me at the stovetop, stirring my grandmother's ragu, Jerry Garcia on the radio, my three little kids dancing wildly around the kitchen, my husband coming up behind me, putting a glass of red wine next to me, and putting his beard on my neck and kissing me. And I just started to bawl.
Welcome to The Intimate Philosopher, where philosophy meets intimacy and life's biggest questions finally feel at home. I'm Dr. Emma Smith. I'm a licensed professional counselor, certified sex therapist, and existential philosophy nerd, inviting you to join me for an after-hours conversation. This is a space to slow down, pour a glass of wine, or maybe a cup of tea, and explore the messy, beautiful intersections of meaning, connection, desire, and being fully human. This is the place for real conversations about the parts of life that don't fit neatly into a box. So, grab your glass, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hi, friends, and welcome back to The Intimate Philosopher. Today, my guest is particularly special to me because not only is Natty a brilliant coach and just badass woman, but also we've been working on something together for the last several months, and we're finally ready to introduce it to the world. And so, of course, I wanted to have her come on and, give you the opportunity to just be captivated by her the way that I was. And, I'm just so excited. So let me tell you a little bit about Natty Frasca. She is a pleasure coach, and she's also the founder and host of the Feminine Rebellion podcast, which is just an incredible podcast. That was actually one of my earliest podcast appearances was on her show because I found her on Instagram and I just loved what she was doing. And I think she had put out a call for guests, and I was like, I want to talk to this woman. So the Feminine Rebellion is a community and a podcast where Natty helps high achieving women in midlife reclaim desire, power, and their own pleasure. She's a scientist by training, and she's the creator of the pleasure method, which is her signature framework for reconnecting with pleasure on your own terms and without shame and without performing it for everyone else, which is what most women are taught to do. So please welcome to The Intimate Philosopher, Natty Frasca.
Thank you so much, Emma. I love being in these spaces with you. They feel just so safe and warm, and I just never know what is going to be revealed in these conversations. So I'm so here for it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's so wonderful to have you. You have been so generous with your platform to me and bringing me on your show. When I was recording the intro, I said, I think that you were actually one of the first podcasts that I was on, or very early on in that. And so, yeah, it's like, so you had set the bar for everybody else.
Yay. Yay. No, I remember finding you. I remember finding you online and saying, I need to talk to this woman. And then that was like, I don't know how long did that go. That was maybe a year and a half ago or something like
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now you're in. Now you're in the
Yeah.
circle. You're mine.
And then I remember when you had reached out, or I had somehow when we got connected, and then my partner being like, you need to talk to that woman because she is gorgeous.
Oh my God. I can't wait to meet Olivia.
And she's going to edit this and be like, I can't believe you said that.
Hi, Olivia.
Amazing. So I was teasing about bringing you on in this thing that we've been working on in the background for several months and everything. But I think before we go anywhere, like, I just want everyone to meet you and learn, like how does someone who now if somebody Googles you and finds the feminine rebellion and finds your community or your podcast is going to think, oh, well, she was like always this way. Right. And so
Yeah.
what's the origin story for how you had this awakening and came to build what you've built?
Oh, well, since it's you, I am just going to be really honest. I was it was right before my 40th birthday, I think. It really started when I asked for a divorce. Um,
Mhm.
I was in a couples therapy session. We've been seeing this couples therapist for, God, probably 6 years, like every Wednesday morning. And I was, I was a very hardworking mom of three at a full time gig.
Mhm.
Um, my husband also has a big career. He's a corporate lawyer. Um, the lion's share of the work around the house and the kids was on me. My kids were in violin, cello, like we were just typical high achieving family, in the Boston suburbs.
Yeah.
And I was dead inside. And I thought the problem was him. And I'm not saying he's not without issues. Um, and I just thought if I get out of this marriage, I'll fix everything. And
Mhm.
so it was in this therapy session where I just dropped the bomb and I said, I want a divorce and I have a lawyer. And I did. I had met a lawyer. Um, and my therapist was kind of stunned. My husband was stunned. I don't know why they were stunned after years of going into therapy and like having the same fights over and over again. Um, and my therapist he asked me a bunch of questions like, what do I want? And I was like, a condo in town, someone to shovel the snow, a lover, you know.
Mhm.
And then he paused and he was like, no, actually, how do you want to feel?
Mhm.
And I was just like, that question was just like the weirdest question someone could ask me. I was like, what are you even talking about? I'm, the youngest of three kids, only girl, give me all the blue ribbons and the gold
Yeah.
trophies. Um, and then I actually paused and let the question land. And what came to me weren't really like how I wanted to feel, but it was a vision. And it was me at the stovetop stirring my grandmother's ragu, Jerry Garcia on the radio, my three little kids dancing wildly around the kitchen, my husband coming up behind me, putting a glass of red wine next to me, and putting his beard on my neck and kissing me. And I just started to bawl.
Mm.
And I was like, I want to feel seen. I want to feel adored. I want to be taken care of. I want to be. And I said this thing that was so embarrassing at the time. I said, I want to be a princess, which to me, in my family, and being like a pretty hardcore feminist, was the most embarrassing thing
Oh.
you could have said. And like, I wanted to throw up. I wanted to run away. I wanted to escape. But that was kind of the beginning of everything for me because it cracked, like, how do I wanna feel? Like, just
Yeah.
shot right into the middle of my soul. Like, I've never thought about how I wanted to feel. I never thought I'm getting just goosebumps even, like
Yeah, me too.
and I just started to, like that was, like, the beginning of a journey, and that was 10 years ago. I roughly, maybe a little bit longer ago, and, I just ended up in the next, like, year and a half, like, leaving my job and kind of going on a spiritual journey, but in that therapy session, my husband, like, started crying, and he leaned towards me, and he's like, "I wanna give that to you, but you won't let me." And I was like,
Mm.
"Say what?" Like, "Okay, maybe, but that just, like, opened up the space. It was a portal for us, for me to start talking about my desires, which I didn't even know I had any. They were just buried, 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 buried. So, um, that's the origin story, and then I went on to I'm a I was a marine biologist. I'm like science, 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 science brain. Like I started reading about pleasure eventually, reading scientific papers on pleasure, reading every book I could about pleasure, about desire, about women, about the patriarchy. You know, I just I'm a I'm a nerd. So I went down that path and I have, went to coaching school, did all that, and then kind of pulled it all together and decided I needed to bring this to the people.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I love, I love this. Thank you for sharing all of that and being so candid because I know that there are a whole bunch of people probably pulled over on the side of the road, like being like, why am I feeling so called out? And it's because this is a story that I hear over and over again. And yes, therapists, we ask weird questions. And sometimes,
Right. It's
right?
like, what does that even mean? How do I want to feel? Like, ask me a real question.
I
How
know.
I
And
answer all the time to people.
oh my gosh, yes, and it's sometimes it's just like, "What do you mean, how do I wanna feel? Who the hell has time for that?" Right? Like,
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And I was numbing with alcohol and I was on anti-anxiety meds and I had a Xanax prescription. Like, I was doing everything just to like keep my head above water.
yeah.
And so, yeah, the question just, oh,
Yeah, right? And but, like, that's just so I mean, it's here's the part that I don't wanna skip over because
yeah,
from, 10 years later, and here you
yeah,
are,
yeah,
and I can hear it in your voice and I can see it and like that was a really hard realization to come
yeah.
to, but you also make it sound very easy,
Oh,
right?
no, yeah,
Because because that's what smart women do, right? We do these
yeah,
impossible things and then
yeah,
go, well, like, of course I did
yeah.
this. And then I
No,
built this incredible community. The part that I feel like people struggle with, and you can say anything else too that you want, but
yeah,
this is the part that I want to get at. The softening, that allowing yourself to open up. I feel like that's the hardest part.
of course it is. Of course it because you don't know if it's going to be received.
Mm,
You don't know if it's going to be received. You know, my husband didn't have to lean in and say, I want to do that for you. Um, if he hadn't, we'd be telling a different story right now. Like, that's the thing. Like, when we soften, it can be really messy, right? Because we might not be met the way we want to be met, the way we want to be seen, the way we want to be held. You know, not everyone has the capacity for that. The softening was really hard for me. Asking for help has been
mm,
really hard. It's getting easier, but I think like a lot of high achieving women, we are so capable, right? And it is our capability. It is how fierce we are that um it's like a double-edged sword, right? It's like we can do it all, so we do it all. But it puts us in this place where our bodies never relax. Our bodies can never receive anything because we're constantly in output. And our society rewards us for that.
oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, who doesn't want the gold star? It's like dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. I mean, I was running a Girl Scout troop and taking 3 kids to, different music lessons and, whatever, assistant coach of sports teams. And, everyone said, "You're so amazing."
Mhm.
Right? And you love to hear that. And the minute you like stop doing that and the accolades stop coming and you kind of soften and do less, it's like our worth is tied up in what we produce, right? Our
Mhm.
productivity. So it's very tricky. I mean, I'm not a I'm not like a rainbows and unicorns um just do these things and you'll have an awesome life. I mean, I still have things I deal with. I had a kid that was in a treatment center a few years ago. There's very dark, messy
Mhm.
moments that we have to navigate, and it's a it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey, but softening, asking for help, speaking my desires, as crunchy and hard and like gut wrenching it is at times for me as a strong, independent woman, it's never failed me.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so true. That's so
Never
true.
failed me because the right people show up.
Mhm.
You curate like a delicious small circle of people
Yes.
who see you and love you and adore you and hold you and honor you and witness you. Um, so it's really that's really the only way.
Yes. Well, and I love this because, like one of the things that I have appreciated about you, right? So, like, you grew up in Boston, right?
Yeah, New Hampshire,
Or
but
New Hampshire.
an hour from Boston, yeah.
Okay. So, you have like that strong energy and like stature, right? And like it has that kind of like, I don't know, like
Don't fuck with
just
me.
yes, yeah, right? Like I think I feel like, like Boston Italian, New York Italian, like it's
Yeah,
we're cousins. Like,
right?
we fight over baseball, but like we're cousins.
Yes,
And
yes.
so it's so funny because like I have found in my journey that especially when I, like, started to try to do some of this healing work as I got when I was in my 30s and, like, people were like, "Oh, you need to, like, do mindfulness, and you need to do this, and you need to do that," and it all felt too soft, and I was like, "If I put my full weight down on this, I'm gonna break you people." Like, it's not
Yes,
it's
I know, I know.
what
Yes. This is okay. You're speaking to something that we have to name because when I was on this journey, I went to a yoga teacher training with a woman that I
Mhm,
love up here in the mountains of New Hampshire, incredible woman. And I was sharing with her like where I was, and it was the very beginning of my journey. And she handed me a book on the feminine. And she was always handing out books for people to read. And I had the desire to, like, punch her in the throat. I was like, "Fuck you." Can I swear on this podcast?
Yes, you can swear.
Okay. Like, "Ew, gross, soft, no, get it out of here." Like, feminine was like a dirty word, especially in my household where it was all boys and me, you
Mhm.
know, pretty patriarchal society, like, anything girly was gross. Um, and and what I've learned is that we, thank you, Walt Whitman, contain multitudes.
Mm.
So I am, on the floor at a Celtics game, like with my hat on backwards and my tattoos out and yelling at the refs. I am also stroking my husband's face, kissing his nose, and telling him how beautiful he is. I am
Mhm.
snuggled up with my kids. I am sending texts to my girlfriends telling them how much I love them. I am weeping, when I read the news. I'm joyful. I am ecstatic. It's like we have 88 keys on this keyboard of emotion.
Yes.
And it's our right. It is our privilege to be able to play all 88 keys. So people see me online,
Mhm.
and yes, maybe it's part of my brand, you
Yeah.
know, that I am fierce and fuck you and fuck the patriarchy and all of that, which is a part of me.
Mhm.
And I am, if you've ever, if you were a fly on the wall in a client session, it is a lot of ooey gooey, sweet, tender
Yeah.
um, talk. So it's all of it. We're all of it.
Yes, yes, and I'm so glad that you're able to speak to that in that way because, like, that was so hard for me. I know that I empathize with my clients when they come in because they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm going to leave this session. I got to go back to running a boardroom with
Yeah.
15 guys that don't think I belong there.
Yes.
Right? Like that kind
Yes.
of thing.
That is very real. That is
Right.
very real. And what I've learned is that our capacity to feel the softness and the grief and the tenderness
Hmm.
is, uh, what's the word? Um, like if we can't feel that, we can't feel the joy and the ecstasy. They
Yes.
correlate, right? So
Yeah.
if we can allow ourselves to feel the low lows or the softer, more tender emotions,
Mhm.
we can't feel the really amazing ones.
Yeah.
So most women in our culture, we're like stuck in the middle, right? We're stuck in like, fine, just get through it.
Mhm.
So, the numbing numbs all the emotions.
Yes. 100%.
So if
100%.
we can learn to access the softer ones,
Yeah.
which we can do.
Yeah.
Um, we can access grief and rage, and we can access joy and ecstasy and aliveness and turn on. Like it's all connected.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just like amen. Like I'm not even religious and I'm just like, yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, folks, it's time for a quick sponsor break. And this one is a paid partnership and it's about a product that I actually use. It's called the Nine to Kind Possibility Planner. It's undated, therapist created, and honestly, it's the first planner that I've stuck with because it's not built around perfection. No shame spirals if you miss a week, no toxic positivity goal pages. It's designed for people committed to progress and not perfection. And that is exactly why I love it. So go to ninetokind.com and use code Emma20 for 20% off your order. That's ninetokind.com, code Emma20. Supporting them helps support this show. Oh my gosh. Do you think, I mean, I'm thinking about I'm going to cheat here because I'm thinking about the folks that I work with, the women that you work with, and then, who we when we decided to collaborate. um, we had this we really, like, were thinking about that midlife woman,
Yeah.
right? And part of when I've been talking to people about this, project, they've been like, "Oh, yeah, because women in midlife are so underserved." And, like, yes, that is true, but I feel like there's also something magically powerful about women in midlife, and that's actually why I
Yeah.
wanted to go there, as I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, no, no, no." There's something that happens when you cross, like, 40
Yeah.
where and I'm sure it only gets more and more true, like, as you go forward, but, like, what do you think is the magic of midlife?
Well, I think a lot about this. So the magic of midlife is like for anyone listening, if you just pause for a minute and you look, if there was a timeline of your life in front of you and you looked backwards, through in the past, and you looked at every single thing that you have endured, every single thing you've achieved, powerful moments, tender moments. I think that this whole spectrum of time up until this moment, we have gained so much wisdom and so much power and so much groundedness that we have gotten to the point where it's like, wait a minute, we're like the wisest humans on the planet right now. Like, we have walked through portals of fire, we have held families together, we have, you know, gotten married, divorced, we've been almost like the caretakers of our societies. And I think to be able to come to a point in midlife and say, like, I have done all of this and so much of it for other people.
Mm,
I have so much wisdom inside of me. And now it's time for me. Now it's time for me. And I also think, and this is maybe like a little philosophical and more on your bend,
yeah.
that when a woman like comes into her power and is fueled by pleasure and aliveness and and makes that a priority, she pushes massive ripples of love and justice into the world.
Mm.
So, so one of the things that hangs me up about this work is that it feels so individual. Like it's sold as individual work, but like my mission is so much bigger than that. Like it starts with the individual, but really like a woman who reclaims herself,
Mhm.
is fully rooted in who she is and has done the work, has like moved through grief and has seen herself and held herself and loved herself through the most tender moments of her life. She cannot do anything but love the humans around her and see the humans around her and give back to her community and fight for the people who have less. Like that's it starts with us.
Mhm.
At midlife, I feel like it does not end with us. Like it's just like we I see us as like the massive love pushers. And so like this is our moment. The world needs us. Um and it starts within.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, chills again. Chills again. Okay. Yes. And
Midlife women.
I know. Like, this is amazing. It's really funny. So sometimes I get some questions that'll come in. And it's always interesting because sometimes it's like people's it's like my wife listens to your podcast, and so I'm gonna ask this question. I get like the husbands.
Oh my god, that's
Um,
so cute.
I
I
know, isn't
love
that adorable? I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Um, here's a this is kind of a compilation of several questions that I have gotten, but you do such a great job. Now, mind you, I am coming to you live from Nashville, Tennessee, right? Okay,
Yeah.
pleasure is a dirty word down here.
Oh, yeah.
So, for and here's the thing, it's like it's not organically dirty. It is something that people have been sold for decades that
Yeah.
they can't trust their inner knowing, that something is trying to tempt them away from the goodness of this life and another,
Mm,
right? And
mhm.
so when if somebody is listening and they have fear about stepping towards pleasure,
Mhm.
how do you invite them in and say, "Hey, no, it's actually safe over here."
Yeah. I guess I would ask them like, "What's your favorite meal?"
Mm.
Right?
Love it.
Mine's like, I don't know, linguine and clams or like my dad's pesto. But the way I describe it to people is pleasure lives on a spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, it's like these micro moments like the sun, I ate my yogurt outside on my deck when the sun finally hit my deck. And I was
Mhm.
like, there's a patch of sun. So I grabbed my yogurt and I sat outside and I ate in the sun. And I was like, oh, sun, 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 sun. Sun feels so good. Sun feels so good. That's pleasure. Dancing, going to um, a dance party with my girlfriends. Pleasure. Um, I'm learning how to oil paint. Pleasure. Um, swimming in the lake with my kids. Pleasure. All the way up. That very, very, very end of the spectrum, I would say is sexual,
Mhm.
like has to do with orgasm.
Yeah.
So, and that is like 1% of
Mhm.
the pleasure spectrum. And it is at the very, very end. And it feels really unattainable, to go all the way to the end of the spectrum. And people, when they think pleasure, they think boop here. But it's like you wouldn't, you know, go to the gym and say, I want to be a heavyweight lifter and try to deadlift 500 pounds, right?
Right.
You would go and you take a 5-pound weight and you'd start doing bicep curls or
Yeah.
whatever.
Absolutely.
So, what my job here, I feel like on this planet at this moment in time, is to remind people that pleasure's a spectrum, and you're allowed to feel even these little we need to train our bodies to receive these little tiny micro moments. Like my scientist mind thinks of it as like titrating. It's like
Mhm.
dropping little tiny drops of pleasure, titrating pleasure throughout your day. Like drop, drop, drop. Um, and of course, there are a million practices for this. I'm sure you share them with your patients. Do you call them patients or clients?
I usually end up calling them clients.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
But
you're a doctor. I don't know. um, anyway, so it's accessible. People are exposure and they don't even know it.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a win, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I would say. I would say like we don't even need to, we've been trained for our brains have been trained to automatically go to the hypersexual. And it's just not the truth.
Yeah. Isn't that I'm so glad that you said that because I think that is something that, like, my listeners know because they've listened to the other episodes and, like, I pride myself on somehow, bringing a pro dom and tantra worker and talking about BDSM in a way that my 82-year-old mother can listen to and be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that was really interesting,"
Yeah.
Because I think that while there has to be something for everyone, right? And, like, when you have been raised not only just in patriarchy, but when you, like, have bought in for so many years into a good girl kind of archetype, right? And, like,
Yes.
trying to be good and even wanting that,
Yes.
it can be really scary to say, "Well, wait a second. So now to be empowered, I have to go, like, all the way to this other thing, and I don't even what?" And so I love how you say that.
Yeah, we just want you to be happy.
Mm.
We just want you to experience joy. I just want people to wake up in the morning and say, I'm really glad this is my life.
Ugh, yes.
Like, that's and that doesn't have to involve toe curling orgasms. Like, I hope it does for you. But even within the good girl archetype, just say people are really rooted in the patriarchy and, they're, rooted in the Christian church or whatever. And like the
Yeah,
word pleasure is, feels bad. If you're in partnership, you still, I believe, probably desire really beautiful sex with your partner,
yeah.
right? That's allowed, right?
Yeah, it is a lot. It is. It's
Yeah.
so funny because sometimes, like, I had a conversation with a pastor, and he was like, I have interesting conversations with lots of people.
I'm sure you do.
And he was like, "Let me ask you something." And he was like, you know, like the way that he believed, he was like, once people get married, like the Bible allows for sex. I said, "Great, you never told anybody." Like,
Right?
you
Exactly.
You never told anyone what that even means, looks like, who they can go to ask for help,
Yes.
because the context of this was, he was like it was kind of funny. He was like, "Well, how are you getting all of these Christians in your office when you're not a Christian counselor?" And I was
Mm.
like, "Because I'm not, right?
Yeah.
Because I am secular, and they can just kinda come in and say what's actually going on, and
Without judgment.
I mean, if they wanted me to quote the Bible at them, I couldn't. So, like, it
Same, same.
right? So, so there's literally no threat that that is going to happen.
Right.
And, so I was like, "Look, like, I'm not saying that you don't believe that people can have sex. I'm saying that your people don't know what they don't know even."
Exactly.
Right? Like, the Holy Spirit did not hit a light switch on the way out the door, when, after the marriage vows and, like, we're
Yeah,
just all
no.
systems go now. You have
No.
20, 30 years of, "Don't do this, it's bad, sex is dirty, save it for the one you love." Like,
Yes.
how does that
Kids, you've made it so
happen?
scary, and I've never met a woman who doesn't desire, delicious, connective, intimate sex with their partner.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's penetrative or not, like just delicious, connective, intimate time to be seen, to be adored, to be loved, to be witnessed, to be in connection. It is the most beautiful form of connection there is. And, um, we all deserve that. We
Yeah.
all deserve that. We deserve that, whether you're married or not married, in partnership, not in partnership, like, he deserved to feel that good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I had somebody on recently who specializes in working with men.
yeah,
And here's what's fascinating. Do you know what she said about what men want in their partnerships? The
the
exact
same
same
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's all of when we talk about like patriarchy harms everyone,
No, it really does.
we mean everyone
Yeah.
because neither side has been told that it's okay for them to drop the body armor, right? Like,
I had a really interesting conversation with my husband about this years ago at the beginning of our journey when I started listening to my body and not wanting to just have quickies
mhm,
whenever he wanted to have sex. And for, at least a decade and a half, I would just think of it as like crossing it off my list. And I finally came clean and was just like, I just like don't want to do this. you know, like I just feel like I'm just doing this so you aren't like grumpy with me after. And he was like,
yeah.
and I was like, yeah, no, I don't like this. Like this is not my this is not my desire. This is not something I'm enjoying. And he was like, oh my gosh, I feel gross. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, so let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes, yes, and, like, having the skill to be able to talk about it, right? And the safety to be able to talk about that is just so
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we should talk about what we have built. I mean, I feel like we've teased it for, like, a half hour, so I guess we should talk about what we've built. So, yeah, so I mean, people have heard me talk about it a little bit that we have this master class coming up on August 14th, and it's the desire recalibration master class.
Mhm.
I'm so excited. And what really it was about how do we get couples on the same page? Couples who love each other, they're not in crisis, they are not about to get divorced. Like, yes, maybe
Mhm.
the thought has crossed their mind, but it's not at the tipping point, right? One of the best parts about being a sex therapist is that when people come to see me, they're typically interested in still having sex with one
Yep.
another, so they're not completely out the door yet.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So, so when they come in, it's like, no, like this has to get better. And we talk to folks. When I was doing my research in order to build this out, I was talking to folks and I said, how long has it been this way? And
Mm,
people were, I mean, I was expecting that people would say like a couple of years and they were like, how old are my kids? And
exactly.
sometimes their kids were in college.
Exactly.
Right. And like, well, what happens if this doesn't change? Like project this out 5 years and people started crying
Of course.
because it was so lonely. And like, oh my gosh, like, and everybody's kind of said, like, can this get better? Like, is the honeymoon just over? Like, that's what we've been
Mm,
told,
mm, mm,
And so we wanted to build this thing out that was like, no, 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 no. This is fixable because you two chose each other at one point, right? Like,
yes.
and you care about each other and you want this. I think you just don't know how to get there,
Yeah.
right? And so when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, I know I got like the nerd part down and I know I have like the philosophy piece and we're going to
Mhm.
talk about the meaning and the purpose and all of this kind of stuff. And, my little Scorpio self loves the word desire. And so that's why it
Yeah.
was the desire recalibration system. But I wanted to ask you, like, from your perspective, when I came to you with this, I said, hey, the good idea fairy hit me on the head.
Yeah.
And I think I want to do this with you. What do you think? And can you just like share a little bit about why you agreed to do this and what you're excited to bring
Yeah.
to our people?
Sure. Well, number one, I love you and I trust you. So I like to be in partnership with people that, um, whose work I think is important. Um, and this particular work is so important.
Mm.
Um, Being in partnership, I've been married now 24 years. It is a wild ride. Um, and I know that having really good, delicious sex, connective sex with my partner, especially over the last decade, has carried us through some really hard moments. It's like fuel in the tank. Um, and I see myself in your clients and the people who are going to be, coming to our master class. So I think I'm really excited about the people who want this. And I think when people raise their hands to and come with their partners,
Mhm.
something like that, that is such a beautiful sign. I mean, the fact that you and your partner are on the same page to wanting to do this together, like I can't wait to meet the people who show up, who are primed and ready to learn. Um, I also am excited because I know I can share some very, very simple tools. I know I think I'm going to be speaking
Yeah.
specifically to the women,
Mhm.
um, with the men being present to hear it
100%.
all.
Yes.
And I have some very, you know, accessible tools to share with these women that can help them kind of unearth this feeling of desire, which is the precursor to actually wanting to have sex. So I'm just excited to share our work and to be in collaboration with you and to meet the beautiful humans who show up to this masterclass. I'm all about community. And
Mm.
so I just think I was a hell yeah. I was like, this sounds like a lot of fun. Um,
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. And, one of the best parts about this too is that you have built out a community too. So if, I mean, part of my hope is that, people meet you, they fall in love with you, and then they're just like, oh my gosh, like where else do you show up
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this too? So like let's talk about that. So what have you built out for folks that they can they're listening to you and they're just like I want all of this right now. Like I can't even wait until the 14th of
Sure.
August. Like, I need this now. Where do
Yeah.
they find
Well,
you?
I have a free community. So I'll give you the link and they can hop in and get like a little taste of me. I've started leaving the past couple of days. I've woken up, and in the summer I like live in the forest. So I've woken up and I've been giving these little like audio kind of love notes to the people in the community, which is really fun. Um, but yeah, just being join the community. It's free. You'll get a taste of my work and what I'm doing, with other women in there. It's a great place to start, and it's the click of a link.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll even be in that community doing some Q&A, which I think is so exciting.
Yes, yes. We're gonna do like a better sex Q&A. Dr. Smith was actually on my podcast. So you should go listen to that. Go search her on the Feminine Rebellion podcast and listen to our episode. But if you're in the community, you'll get access to like a free Q&A with Emma.
I
I
love
think
it
that'll be,
so
yeah, and I'm
much.
bringing more and more experts in there, but you're my first one.
Yay.
Yeah,
Well, I love that. That's so
yeah,
exciting.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm really excited. I love what you've built. Huge fan. So grateful to work with you. We'll also have a someone for the guys. I mean, it's gendered, but it isn't, right? Like it's so important for the men to hear what you're talking about too, because nobody has ever told them this. I think
Mhm.
about when I was working for the Marine Corps and it was in this unit where there was probably like 1,100 Marines. There were 5 women who
Wow.
were in the service. There were like 2 of us who were just, it was like me and the HR lady. And
Wow.
yeah,
I do
and
not know this part of your journey.
yes, I was the sexual assault prevention officer for
Oh.
at Marine Barracks, Washington. And so I taught all these 19-year-olds about not raping.
Oh my gosh, Emma.
Yes. And you know what I found out is how many people didn't realize, how many boys and young men didn't realize what had happened to them had a name.
Oh,
And so I ended up with all of these boys, and I was like, oh my gosh, nobody has told you about your own body. And so one of the ways that I started talking to Marines about not raping other people was talking to them about how they had autonomy over their own body and that nobody had the right to touch them
oh,
without them wanting it. Because when your humanity, doesn't matter what gender you are, when your humanity is seen and recognized and honored, you are much more likely to do that for other people.
of course.
Right?
Of course.
And so, because sometimes people were like, how did you work with them? And I was like, the same way that you work with anybody else who needs this information, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I think that it's so important that we're going to have you there for everyone. Speaking definitely to female pleasure, for sure.
Yeah.
And also, the guys need to hear this too, because they also have bodies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and, like, every human's different, right? If you had
Yeah.
put me in a similar room, 10 years ago with a, male identifying person and a female identifying person, I would have probably resonated more with the man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Yes,
So
absolutely.
so I
Yeah.
think there's gonna be, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't
And
know.
then we're also going to have Alex West come with us. And Alex
Right.
is a former Navy SEAL Team 6 operator turned clinical counselor, which is just so cool. He's incredible. He's going to talk about that journey of taking off the body armor and
Mm,
and being vulnerable and being present. And
mm,
like, if he can figure out how to do that, so can everybody else. Because I
mm.
promise you, I promise you, he's probably been in situations that he needed the body armor,
Yeah,
literal, figurative, and everything in between. And so if he can figure out how to do it and turn it into a second career, then I mean, he's like a somatic experiencing guy. Like, it's like
I
this
can't
whole thing.
wait for this.
I know. I know. And so, he's going to be there for, again, everyone, but also particularly to speak to, hey guys, you can be the manliest man that ever manned
Mhm.
and be able to access this too.
Yes.
Right? So I'm
And I
so
think I
excited.
think the pleasure piece is gonna be interesting for the men as well because they need to learn how to access. I mean, I'm teaching my husband about how to access these little micro moments of pleasure throughout his day.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
it
yes.
serves everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we will put all the links in the show notes and cannot wait to see you on August 14th at our very free and accessible masterclass. It's going to be on Zoom. You're going to spend an
Yeah.
afternoon with us. It's going to be great.
It is gonna be great. We can't wait to meet you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Natty. And yeah, and for everyone who's listening out there, you're in that messy business of being human and you're doing it. Like, that's all we can ask of you, right? Is to just show up, give it your best shot, see what the world throws at you, maybe throw something back. And
Yeah.
we'll see you next time.
That's right. Mwah.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for this after hours conversation. If something in today's episode made you pause, get curious, or see yourself a little more clearly, share it with a friend and keep that conversation going. Until next time, keep exploring that messy, beautiful space between meaning and being human. I'll see you next time.